We're Mercury. We're Mercury. We're Mercury. We're Mercury. Hi, all. We're glad to be here on this June 9th, maybe? We're not really sure anymore, but it's 2020 still. Oh, yeah, it's November 9th, 2020. Ooh. So, congratulations to all of those who voted blue this year. This video is for you. That's right. We're here for all those blue loving Joes. Ugh. You chose it. And since you chose it, we wanted to share with you what our life will be like in the next 4 years. So we wrote some notes. Yep, we wrote some notes. Just so we're clear. So this video, we're going to talk about slavery. Ha! That's right. The slavery I chose. Not I, but we, apparently, chose slavery. So we wanted to give you a little bit of facts about your choice, you know. We wanted to tell you a little bit more about the Democratic Party. Did you know that the Democratic Party was founded by the KKK and their main objective was to stand against Republicans whose platform was anti-slavery party, which means the Democrats are the slavery party, have been, always been, will continue to be the slave party, the racist party. Did you know that Republicans are the ones who abolished slavery? Did you know that Republicans were the ones that gave blacks the right to vote? Did you know that Republicans elected the first black congressman? These are just a few of the literally countless instances where Republicans have proven, time and time again, they are the anti-slavery party. So, if one party is based on anti-slavery, and the other party is hell-bent on making sure that party never gets in power, ever, congratulations. That means you're part of the slave party. Do you know why Chelsea Handler had the audacity to say something like, "Oh, I had to remind him he was black"? Because that's what slave owners do. They have to remind you of something so you can't do something else. That's why people reminded me all the time, "You're queer. You can't possibly vote Republican." See how slavery works? When a community tells you that you can't do something because you're this, it means you're institutionalizing slavery on yourself. Congratulations. You're a slave, and you chose it. Sorry, we were trying to come in a little more reserved. After all, we are wearing our slave-colored glasses today. What, you don't see glasses? That's right, because glasses are not covered by the slavery party. Unfortunately for you, you do not have eye care. We also will not have jewelry. That will go to the way of the taxes. When all the rich people leave our country, because they have 62+% tax hike, They can afford to leave us, poor people. So, bye-bye, jewelry. We'll have to sell you. Probably this one, too. Really did like you. Oh, not our commitment to someone else. Well, I guess that has to go, too. Oh, she's tight. She doesn't want to come. I guess we're just stuck with that one. It's okay. It's a good one to be stuck with. Most of the time. A few other things that you voted for. Joe Biden against gay marriage. In fact, almost all of the Democrats voted against it and talked about it so many times. And then it wasn't until the public said, no, we're like cool with it, did they switch their tune. Trump is actually the very first openly gay supporting president and has said so on many occasions and has actually done so even though the media has lied to you on what some of those actions are and some of those things that you think are bad. Like removing us from the Paris Climate Agreement. Did you know that that was going to significantly damage the United States? And we would have to start pay, like the amount of money, the amount of work we'd have to put in, and then other countries like China and others wouldn't have to even start putting in anything until like 2030. Are you kidding? We would be decimated by that point. But Biden wants to put us back in. Why? Because he's owned by China. Have you not paid attention to the Hunter Biden laptops? Clearly you know nothing about what's on them because it's pretty bad. It's really, really bad. And you voted him in. Why? Why would you vote for a pedophile? Why would you vote for a slave owner? Why would you vote for someone who is already owned and bought by China? Easy. You're brainwashed. Mind control. It's a mind alien. And so that's why it's really important to not blame yourself for choosing slavery, more so just accepting that you did. It was bad. And like, let's just not do that anymore. Like, let's just, and it's not that we have to, and keep in mind, okay, this does not mean that we have to just like immediately accept and trust the Republicans, okay? You don't have to do that. In fact, you should question. You should ask things. You should have that option. But you should have that option, okay? You shouldn't just be told that you can't because you're gay, or you can't because you're black, or you can't because you're white. Yeah, congratulations. When you want equality, if everyone is a slave, equally a slave, how is that fun? How is that right? Nobody gets anything. Very interesting, the word equality, right? It's taken from the basic structure that you're missing out two other things, right? Because you have equality, you have equity, and you have justice. Our vote is always going to be for justice. And if there's a fourth thing that's powers, I don't know, sure, why not? We don't care. But our first priority is to get to justice, right? So if we're all equally a slave, cool. That's what just happened. We got equality for all. Congratulations, you got it. Slavery. Number 2, now we hear Biden's talking about equity. Now this is the next step in their disinformation ploy. All right, so equity is going to give us the illusion that everyone is helped, right? It's going to give two parties or two groups or however many groups a little bit more, a boost, while leaving behind the system itself, trying to forsake it. But what's going to end up happening is you are going to get to a point where no one gets helped. Instead of giving everybody a little something, they're going to give the wrong peoples the wrong somethings, purposefully. And then one day they will say that we have justice, but it won't be for all. It will be for 99.99% of people, and the rest of us will be cattle to the aliens. We got a little off topic, but still on topic. So, we want to tell you guys a little something. Did you actually look at the state maps in the voting? Majority of it was red, and then there was just like little pockets of really blue areas. And then the rest of the state was red for a reason, because they have not been conned into continuing down the slavery route. But you have, you in your major cities like New York and LA and I don't know, the 3 other states that maybe voted blue, really? Come on. Let's be real. There's a lot more red that you're not seeing. The media points of... Okay, we're not going to talk about it. We're just going to move on. Move on. Sorry, we just don't want to be a slave. We announced the other day we were King President Mercury. And here you all are, prouding and tooting on this Biden man as though he is president. He's not going to be your president. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. It's not a good idea. We're about to continue on why you chose slavery. Right, so these democratic cities, they are pockets of slaves. They've treated us like slaves. They have disenfranchised us like slaves. There's a reason why we have the most homeless people. You know, there's a reason why democratic cities have so many homeless, why they have so many poor, why they have so much government housing and things as such. It is because they want us to be slaves. They like having us to be slaves, to vote for them, to be slaughtered by them, to be abducted by them, to be harvested our organs by them. Our adrenochrome as well. Well, we're old now, so like they don't care about our adrenochrome, but children's adrenochrome, that's a delicacy for them. And if you don't know about adrenochrome, you really need to learn about it, because that's that lizard stuff. Whoa. Anyway, so you've enslaved yourself. You've made a choice to be slave, blah, blah, blah. You've been tricked by the slave owners. We said before, oh, right. So we said one time in, we don't know, in a video, in a show, at some point we said this, about how do you free a slave who does not know they are a slave. And this is something that we actually came across during the abolition of slavery. In fact, in many plantations, people would come to be like, hey, you guys, you slaves, are free. And do you know what happened? Many slaves were like, we don't know what that means. We don't know, like, it wasn't like, oh my God, yes, you freed us. They didn't even know they were slaves, some of them. They just thought this was life. Because when you know nothing else, why else would you? It's not your fault. It's mind control. It's alien lizard stuff. It's not your fault. Anyway, civil war can only be done through civility, not through discourse. Oh, good point. Okay, so for civil war, right? Because we talked about how you guys kind of were like, oh my God, we're going to start a civil war if you people vote red. And you know what red was like? We were like, bring it. Bring it. Because red has a lot of guns, a lot of weapons. We're trained in a couple different weapons. And I have not. I mean, we've shot guns before. Wouldn't say we're like the best shot. But now that we know what we're aiming for. Just kidding. Violence is not the answer. It's never the answer. You can't loot and riot and pillage. I mean, let's be real. Look, look at what they're doing. Look at what the Republicans are doing right now. Are they looting and rioting? They're peacefully protesting. You guys, the blue, you're punching Donald Trump blow-up dolls. You're screaming and yelling. Like, your guy won and you're still looting. You're still rioting. Did you ever think that maybe you're still a slave? Did you ever ask that question? Did you? Anyway, civility. We're choosing the civil route. Now, we are clearly going to be civilly disobedient as well, because let's be real. You think we're going down with a fight? We're Mercury. King, President, Reverend Mercury, legally ordained, just married our friends the other day. It was a lovely ceremony, and we didn't talk about trafficking one time during the ceremony. Now, before and after, yes, we totally did. And look, it took us, I don't even know how long to talk about trafficking in this video, because we were too busy talking about slavery, which is a little bit more pressing. I mean, the children who are being trafficked are also slaves. So this is kind of like, we always thought that child trafficking was going to be the linchpin. Turns out it's slavery, because people, like, you want to be a slave until you actually know what it's like to be a slave and actually feel like a slave. It's a whole other thing to be locked in a cage and left for days, or abused and used 24/7. As many guys that they want, or women, or whoever, to abuse you, alien you. Do whatever they want to you. Do you know what that's like? Because there are some children who do. And we certainly know what it's like to feel like a slave and be a slave. So even though we're white, yeah, guess what? We're a slave too. Congratulations. We already knew we were a slave. We were trying to tell everyone else, you are also a slave, and voting blue is voting for slavery. Congratulations. And we can't say that enough, because it's really important for you to understand that you chose slavery over freedom. Don't know if we mentioned, but we brought 2 bottles today because we figured this was going to be a long one. And we're right. Cool. Think about that word and think about word choice. Oh, civil. So we're thinking about the word civil, right? What does civil mean to you? See, right? It's confusing. See, what we see is a big C, a little I, a little V, another I, and an L. We understand, may not make sense to some it makes sense. Just probably not in this time and dimension. Anyway, sorry. Inside joke. Right, back to slavery. So our words matter. You cannot discount us just because you choose to be enslaved. Oh, that's so boring. Okay, we refuse to be a slave. We kind of talked about that already. We will not become a slave again. We've been a slave. We don't want to be one again. It looks like we already kind of covered those things. Are you guys ready for that? Okay, so in a past life, which we've definitely talked about this particular past life probably before. Not 100% sure, but pretty sure. So in a past life, we were burned at the stake for being a witch. For our gorgeous, beautiful red hair, it is something we've come to find. Oh, see, we're even enslaved in this outfit. It's fine. So we've come to find we've been ginger many times in a lot of past lives. For some reason, we really love it. We were albino in another past life. Well, we were a black albino person. See, it sounds really ridiculous when you start talking about it sometimes. But there was that movie, Tom Hanks was in it, and I can't remember her name, but she was like Wu something, Bai Wong, something. It was something like that. It was a fantastic movie, but like loved it. It was a great perspective on how you can kind of look beyond someone's current shell to see that they have had many shells over many lifetimes. And when you start to accept the reoccurring lifetimes, you'll stop being like, oh my God, this white guy's being racist. He just said he was black. We didn't say we were black right now. Okay? We said we were an albino black person in a past life. This is very different. It's very, very different. We can't explain how we know these things. I mean, we could, but you wouldn't pay attention or listen to it, so it's fine. I mean, maybe you would. There we go, assuming again. And you know, we all know what assuming means. Right, so we still get glimpses of the flyer because we were burned at the stake as a witch. We're done being burned and branded and begging for more. Oh, that's cute. We're done. Sounds very angry. We get really emotional sometimes when we write notes because, like, we'll be talking about slavery and it just makes us so passionate. Because here's the thing, we are so anti-slavery. It makes us, like, really passionate to talk about slavery and, like, really, really don't want to be a slave anymore. We don't want anyone to be a slave anymore. Like, that is our goal, is for you to see how we see we are all slaves and we have to stop choosing that life. Because guess what? Slavery can be a choice if we choose it, if we choose to rebel against our slave owners. The D. And that does not limit itself to the Democratic Party, FYI. It includes Republicans. It includes a lot of stuff. We can't talk about it yet because censorship. Anyway. We are victim no more. Good. That's a great thing. We are victim no more. It's a wonderful, strong, powerful phrase. We suggest you say it. We love to say it to ourselves. Like when we're feeling like a victim, which we totally feel like a victim all the time sometimes. Like, let's be real. That programming doesn't go away overnight. See, mind control. Mind alien. So, anyway, we're not going to be victims anymore. And you should also choose to not be a victim anymore. If you choose. Because honestly, we're not here to tell you what to do. We're just here to like open your mind and like ask you to think about stuff and like question things and not just be like hate all the time and anger all the time. Like, because guess what? There are other emotions. Did you not watch Inside Out? If not, highly recommend it. It is much more accurate on how our mind works than anything else. I mean, it's not like perfect because each mind works in its own individualistic way, but yet still comes to usually like a council of some kind of beings, you know, whether you choose them to be aliens or colors or imaginary friends or whoever you choose this council to be, you have to understand that they represent parts of you. And you can't just react because anger is like, ah, or jealousy is like, ah, or sadness is like, oh, or like disgust is like, ew. You know, you can't just react off those base. Emotions are fleeting. You have to like let them go. Like the river. It just goes. Just one of our names. Just wait for what we have in store. Wow, we were really on a soapbox when writing this. But still, you just wait for what we have in store. It's gonna be amazing. You're gonna feel so much better after listening to us. King. We forgot our other titles because they don't really matter. Titles don't matter. None of it really matters except for the slavery part because, oh yeah, we're still talking about slavery. But at least we're having a good time talking about slavery because, like, that's the thing. We should be able to have open conversations and we should be able to joke about slavery. Like, we ourselves are slaves. So, like, we can joke about being a slave all we want. You can't stop us. Congratulations. And we've seen plenty of slaves firsthand in other countries, too. It's different. Every country's slaves are different, you know, in their own unique slavery way. Some have more privileges than others. And for a long time, we white beings we had some more privilege. And now we kind of squandered that away. which is good because honestly, I'd rather us be all equally slaves than some slaves and some not slaves because we wouldn't be able to live with ourselves, So now that we're slaves, like you, congratulations on your choice, on your victory for slavery. Congratulations, Joe Biden. Victory for slavery. Try to change my mind because it's not going to happen because history and literally thousands, if we knew how to edit and put stuff, like people who actually know how to do that kind of stuff, you let us know what kind of facts we can put up here because we already told you a few. You didn't listen. Democratic Party is the slavery party, and you did not listen. So anyway, you might be fine being a slave, but we don't care what I want. We just care about what we need. Oh, that's a good line. We like that one. Oh, we already talked about how Republicans are looting and stealing, and they're not creating a civil war, or we're not creating a civil war. We don't identify as Republican, as we've told before. We even made a video called about how warp fluid, it's where we are polyfluid. And we made that, right, to point out that we don't actually care about what party is in power. All we care about is the person, is a person, and what they have done to show us they're good people. And we saw, because we decided to have research and downtime, we saw the Democrats are demons in disguise. And we don't mean that figuratively. We mean that literally. They have sold their souls to the devil. They are part of a satanic cult who worships the Draconians, a lizard race who has come to enslave us all. Something kind of like that. Anyway, I mean, there's other things too. Like there's like actual factual times of like when the Democrats chose slavery and were founded on slavery and have continued to do slavery-like things and played this book and duped you over and over again, voting blue with these celebrities, which, by the way, they pay. Celebrities are slaves too. They're probably some of the most enslaved. Just because they have money doesn't mean they're free. Now, some of them are because they chose the path of freedom through joining. So, like, if I can't beat them, join them. So they joined the Illuminati. They joined the 1%ers. If they're a billionaire, 9 times out of 10, they probably sign their book in the devil. Not all 10, right? Because, like, some people can be good. And, we're not... Bill Gates is not one of them. His family's been selling the souls to devils for a long time. His family has roots in Nazism, but that's fine too, I guess. Or maybe it's not. Maybe we should look into people before we just invest in them. Anyway. Probably break my phone for this. So we're going to stop talking about him. I don't know. He might be already in jail by now. Supposedly. A lot of these people are clones. Anyway, so, you didn't see Republicans gunning people down. Have you ever wondered if you're a slave to the Democratic Party? I feel like we kind of covered that. Republicans are far from perfect, but at least they are founded on anti-slavery. I think we talked about that. Not pro-slavery like the D Party. Stands still pro-slavery. Ooh, some good jokes. Okay. Antebellum, more like anti-Biden. Ha! Because he's a slave owner. Uncle Tom, more like Uncle Harris. Because she's also a slave owner and has perpetuated slavery many times. Did you know? Harris, because, like, here's the thing. You think you voted for Joe, and really you think you voted for Harris, and you were like, oh, well, he'll probably die, because she'll probably kill him in, like, the first couple of months. Maybe in the first year. Or if lockdown doesn't work, again, like the second lockdown, the mandatory lockdown that comes through Biden presidency. By the way, mandatory masks, vaccines, lockdowns, all that stuff. Oh, being a slave is going to be harder than it's ever been before. Oh, goodness. She's bad, y'all. I mean, she literally, so she's been bribed to cover up allegations of sexual assault and rape. She has systematically kept racism and slavery institutionalized in prisons because she has made a career out of putting away black people specifically. She is horrible. She is the biggest Uncle Tom. I mean, she literally accused Joe Biden of being a sexual predator and rapist, and then it's fine. I'll be his VP because she's power hungry. Don't let her trick you. Don't let her sassiness. If you want a sassy black woman to be your president, you should vote for Candace Owens. That woman, oh my God, she is the smartest. She knows all about money. She knows all about power. She knows all about, she knows so much. She's about to be a mama. She's gorgeous. You know, we personally prefer a little more natural hair, but to each their own. Like, we all get to choose what kind of hairstyle we get, all right? And like what we want. You know, she likes her things. Live with it. She's conservative. Live with it. She's smart. She is probably the most educated black woman. Okay, that's probably really racist to say all that. She's just a really educated black woman, and we really love her. We're just trying to support Candace Owens. We realize we might have come off bad in that moment. And that's going to be a sound clip, but oh well. We're just trying to tell you about slavery. And that's probably the only thing you'll hear with that one comment. Great. Anyway, so back to slavery. Ask yourself, once a slave, always a slave? You know, like once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Or like once an addict, always an addict. Or like always a Friends fan, always a friend. Maybe. We'll see. Personally, we don't want to be a slave anymore. Right. You chose you chose slavery as your Lord and Savior. Don't thank God. Thank slavery. We're just coming up with little quips, you know, little sound bites, memes. This one's gonna be a fun one for some of you. Slavery, just like the Holocaust, it never happened. Brought to you by the Democratic Party. Or is it all still happening now? Are we still all slaves? Because the Holocaust happened too. Yeah. A lot of genocides happen. Still happening to children currently. And you're ignoring it. And we tried really, really hard. You didn't even pay attention to Epstein and how the emails are connected to Epstein and how the pizza place, Pizza Comet, is also connected to this and how Pizzagate is 100% real and how makes you want to be like, makes you sick. Honestly, it makes us sick to even think about the future with Biden in office. But we're still hopeful because honestly, don't think we're that stupid. I think the people are much smarter. Now, granted, some of these Democratic cities have not gone outside of their Democratic city in a long time and haven't seen what the rest of the world and the country looks like yet. Because you've been indoors for a year. And let's be real, you've been indoors for a lot longer. Oh, so now is a good segue into trafficking of children. You know, we kind of already did that. So what if, just what if the government has documents, videos, testimonies, and other sensitive case materials undisclosed to the public and therefore not available, proving that the D candidate elect, C and I date. Why did I do that? Why did we do that? The C and I date. What could that mean? Anyway, so the D, C and I date elect is not only a pizza and hot dog lover. Oh, he also likes ice cream too. That sounds lovely. Don't you love pizza and hot dogs and ice cream too? Oh my goodness. Now, if you don't know what we're talking about, you don't know, and that is okay. Still, look it up. Look up what that means in trafficking. Look up those things. Because we actually wrote a show once that we will soon share where we used food as a placeholder. We actually wrote a show once that we will soon share where we used food as a placeholder for other words. It's easy and an effective way to create plausible deniability. Unfortunately, plausible deniability only makes sense in a one-time deal situation. After that, it is a pattern and clearly needs further explanation in emails that sometimes said something like, and we're paraphrasing, and because you should just look at the emails yourself because we read a bunch and then we were disgusted and then we stopped. That sometimes said things like, from HRC, BT dubs. Really wish President Obama wouldn't bring hot dogs to bed in the White House. He needs to have hot dogs somewhere else. So what if this is like Mad Lib codes and you just replace the word meaning something other than what you call it? Like, we all know what an eggplant emoji and a peach emoji and 3 water droplets are. It's vegetables, fruits, and hydration, obviously. Oh, so conspiracy. With or lie is what a con could mean. So maybe it's with a lie is what con means. When you add it to a word, obviously. Gosh. You call yourself an English major. Oh, it's almost time for a second bottle. So slavery. Ooh. So this is where it gets real dark, real fast. Because first we've just kind of talked about how you voted for slavery. Now we're going to talk about your results. Not the election results, the results of a Biden presidency. But we're going to start with a little more background information about what else is going on in the world. Anyway, so slavery. Did you know in our world right now, there are more people per population in slavery than in free? In fact, only 99.99% remainder are... that was incorrect. Sorry. In fact... Okay, so the point was that it's 0.000001% of people who are free still. The 99.99% remainder is enslaved people. Yes, because we are all enslaved. Have you not seen how draconian their lockdowns have been in other countries? Australia, did you know that they have it to where you can't even cross state borders? Yeah. You can't even leave your own state. Imagine. You think, oh, there's some real bad stuff in Britain. They're not any better. So many governments, so many slave trafficking, slave owners. It just gives us the heebie-jeebies. We need to drink more. Yeah, we don't care. We don't care that we're doing all of this. You don't care, so why should we? Probably didn't even watch the whole thing. Anyway. So the rest are slaves. Congratulations! Now we're slaves too. Slaves have it the worst. And we are all now slaves to D. And we don't mean the Democratic Party, or Deep State, or Draconians, or eggplant emojis. Wink. We just mean like the letter of the day in Sesame Street. Slaves to D. That's what we mean. The letter of the day is D. Words. Can't even make... Wow. Mind alien. Whew. Mind control. Really working overtime today. They really don't want us to talk about this, but that's okay. So whatever slaveholder you put in your place, even if your slaveholder is Disney, for you. Mad Libs are so much fun, you guys. Really. They totally are. So you should remember we played Mad Libs? Okay, some of us played Mad Libs and some of us didn't. And it's very clear the Republicans played Mad Libs a lot more than Democrats because you chose slavery. So in conclusion, we are slaves. If you voted blue, you voted to be a slave. You chose slavery over freedom. So get ready for reality. 4 years unmasked. Vaccines coming to a mandate near you soon. World War III, not just your average war, ... alien invasion. You thought it was hard before, just wait for Agenda 2021. It's a doozy. So, sit back and watch as we become cattle, docile and dumb, ready for the slaughter. Oh, and don't forget how Biden has talked of a dark winter, and Harris too. Wonder what that means, because if it was really about COVID, he would just say slavery. This was slavery I chose. Now, we could be totally wrong about this. We're not, but we could be. But if you can't even consider an alternative reality to your own, how are you so sure yours is real? We're all hypocrites. Because we will continue to say one thing and do another, but we're trying to be more hypocritical on things we do know about. And why slavery can feel intoxicating at first. You take care of all my needs, and I can just live on your farms rent-free, like a little bunny coming into your little farm, like rent-free. Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And then, anyway. Pretty soon, this virus can separate family from family through contact tracing. Now, line stocked, fresh and healthy, something about that. Basically, you're totally aliened with a Biden as your president. And we wish you the best of luck. We're going to choose an alternative reality. And we're really, really sorry for those of you who've already accepted slavery as your Lord and Savior. Brought it back one more time. Because, we also believe in God and Jesus, but we also believe in Ganesha and others. We have to be a little bit more open to believing all realities And even if we choose to reject a certain standard of reality, we can't just ignore reality. There are over 7 billion realities happening right now on this planet alone. Almost all 7 billion of them are slaves. And in the galaxy, there are so much, like, you have no idea. Like, literally no idea. You know how space movies, right, have all these different aliens, and a lot of them kind of look human? There's like a bunch of them that do. There's a bunch that don't too. Well, like, look at Star Wars. Look at, I don't know, this is just the best one we can kind of, Star Trek, you know, a lot of star stuff. Anyway, our point is, you've really kind of closed the gap on what is and is not reality. And we understand slavery is hard. Like, when you're a slave, it's hard to get out of that mindset and, like, no longer be the victim and no longer be the slave. But, you know, right now, what you're doing with the Democratic Party is kind of like when you see that girl who's, like, clearly been abused by her husband, like, for a long time, and then just continues to stay with him for some reason. Maybe it's for the kids, maybe it's because, like, she's never worked before, so she doesn't even know how to survive. She's, like, doesn't even have, like, a 4th grade education. Like, whatever the reason is, right? None of this is her fault, right? But as outside observers to slavery and how we don't want to be a slave, and so we're not actually going to choose slavery, so, like, you guys voted for him, and that's fine. You can vote for slavery. We don't care. What we do care about is the not being slaves after you voted for it. So we hope you enjoyed. Thank you all, and see you again soon.